I just stuck a bull. This bull has been sounding gnarly, nasty. On my right, there's two bulls fighting. I can see them going, their bodies moving back and forth between the trees. And then all of a sudden I hear this. There's another bull right there. Walking through his aspens.
I shot him. You didn't hear that?
No. Oh. We both just shot the same bull.
He shot him first.
He shot him first. Oh my gosh. What a heck of a pursuit, dude. All freaking day.
When your buddy calls you, says you got a buck down. And what does he got? A buck down.
Look what I found.
What a sweet coos, man. Opening day, heck yeah. Way to go, Steve.
Arizona Archery Club is a premier partner with BowhuntingAZ. When it comes to attention to detail and a fiery passion, Arizona Archery Club brings it all to the table. With all the latest bows and archery equipment, you can demo every single model in person, free of charge at their demo room. Walk through the process with an experienced bow tech and see which bow is right for you without the sales pressure. Their indoor archery range offers air-conditioned lanes with standard or 3D targets available. When you visit, be sure to mention you're a listener to the BowhuntingAZ podcast. Let's all support local. Conquering your own dark mountain is no easy task. The backcountry requires grit and determination. Having quality supplements like Dark Mountain's Kodiak pre-workout, whey proteins, and nourishing recovery are all an essential part of your success in the journey to harvest from the land. Dark Mountain is a 2% for conservation company because they know that with a collective effort, we can cherish these resources for a long time to come. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ20 for 20% off your order. Afflictor Broadheads are cutting to the core of broadhead technology. With both expandable hybrids and fixed broadheads, you have an arsenal available for any hunting need. Team BowhuntingAZ has placed our trust in Afflictor as our exclusive broadheads to hunt with. Check out Afflictor's selection over at afflictorbroadheads.com. Built mountain tough, SKRE Gear offers hunters the highest quality clothing for affordable prices. With patterns designed by military concealment specialists, SKRE Gear brings you closer to the game without being detected. With every climate in mind, SKRE Gear hosts a huge selection of clothing for all the terrains of North America and beyond. Check out SKRE Gear today at www.skregear.com. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ for 15% off your first order.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BowhuntingAZ podcast. We are back in action after a long hiatus of, a while.
Yeah.
Let's see, when was the last episode? 38, March 1st, 2021 was our last episode that we posted. So
That was only a month ago.
2021? So yeah, a little over a year ago. Man, just been busy and podcasting honestly hasn't been the priority, but been kind of missing it, wanting to get back into it. So here we are, got some podcast episode ideas lined up, and can't wait to get back into it and jump into it. Asked everybody for a couple of topics that they'd like to talk, and I've got a couple of my own. We've got some major changes coming up to OTC archery for deer, and we've had some adventures of our own that we've done and just haven't covered ever, and yeah, so it's good to be back.
Work life gets in the way, whatever.
It does. And I got Jake here with me, of course, and we're going to cover, kind of just bridge the gap between now and then and catch you up, and then we'll start getting into some of the other episodes that we have planned out in the next few weeks probably. So last we left off with was our December and January OTC archery hunts with me and Jake and our buddy Eric. And shortly after that, in fact we were teasing it up in the last episode 38, we were talking about our turkey hunt coming up.
Your upcoming turkey hunt, yeah.
I had a shotgun spring turkey tag, and if you want to see how that hunt went, you can jump over on our YouTube. Just type in BowhuntingAZ on YouTube and go watch the episode.
Do yourself a favor and check it out. That was a good video.
That was a great video. I got a lot of compliments on that one.
We got some behind the scenes footage that we never really released on the video or the YouTube video, I guess I should say, but of us cruising down the road.
Oh yeah, so let's break down the hunt and then we'll talk about that. We'll plug that part in. So kind of keep in mind for the behind the scenes footage, you'll know when we're talking about it.
Maybe you'll cue a video up or on the Instagram or something.
Yeah, I'll have to get the footage from you because I don't have
that
it.
way you can check it out. That's hilarious.
So I had a split hunt. It was a spring shotgun turkey tag, and we had scouted this area. We already knew it fairly well, and because we had our elk hunts there.
Well, yeah, and then prior to that, even on the last episode, I think we were talking about it, of doing OTC archery turkey the year prior. So
Yep.
So yeah, we've definitely known the area a little bit well, and even scouted it the year before too.
Right.
So.
Right. And we had seen lots of toms there, and sign for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Tons of sign. So I had a split hunt. We went out on the first week. We were just amped and pumped, and other than
Yeah, we showed up that night and it was pouring.
which was really random. Yeah, it was so random. It was like clear skies down here, and we get up there and it's just like pouring, and then we ended up getting some lightning and thunder too. Remember? I was like, what in the world? And so yeah, it was kind of a cool reprieve from the valley temps, and because it was pretty warm when we left. It was like 90 something.
Yeah, dude.
I think it was like 98.
It would drop down into like the low 40s that night.
Yeah.
Man, it was cold, dude.
Yep.
It was cold.
And we were also super lucky too on that hunt to be rocking the new Solace SKRE Gear.
Yeah.
SKRE outfitted us with their brand new Solace pattern, so you guys can see that in the video as well. We're wearing it,
Yeah,
and how versatile it is, and
very good for late season. But I think it was really cool in the aspect of turkey hunting too. If you're sitting up against a tree, and you'll see that in this video, but of how well that blends in.
yeah, definitely. And so we hit opening morning, and man, we got the royal treatment. The Toms rolled out the red carpet for us, dude. We didn't
go 300, 400 yards from camp, and it was
well, we literally dropped camp where I've seen turkeys walking.
right.
So, but yeah, no, you're right. We went just 300 or 400 yards from camp and let out some little hens, and dude, it was like it was like they were on, man.
Right.
Those
that was awesome.
Those Toms were looking for love.
And it was still even like somewhat too dark to even see, so we were just waiting game at that point.
Yeah, the camera was having trouble filming, and it's like a dedicated low light
Dude,
camera.
I was sitting there so many times, and I thought the turkey was gonna come up the mountain, and you're gonna shoot this turkey before it was even like bright enough to capture it on. Because I mean, you could see, right? But it wasn't bright enough to see on camera.
Right.
I was like, dang it. I'm not going to be able to get it on video for you.
Nah.
But
So we kind of played, cat and mouse, game of chess with these Toms, and we were just kind of, it's opening morning, right? You're figuring it out, and we ultimately didn't connect that morning, and
Right.
even though we had just insane amount of action, ultimately they just wouldn't commit, and we kind of figured out. I think in hindsight they were running those goalie bottoms. It kind of seemed like they were dropping down into these cuts and then dropping into like if it was raining, like all the water would run down these
some
things.
type of a wash or drainage, yeah.
Exactly. They were running the bottoms of these drainages. So we kind of figured that out and thought, okay. And I think, did we go fishing? No, we didn't go fishing that afternoon. What did we do that afternoon? I think we
did go fish that afternoon. Yeah, because that was like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then we're like, oh, we got to hurry up and get back and try and go back to the area and see if we can catch them coming up.
Yep. So we did, and then went fishing. No luck. Zero. Not even a bite. And we got some cool paddleboarder taking a selfie with her little like Yorkie poo.
It was like totally that.
Doing it for the gram.
Yeah, do it for the gram, man. Oh man, it was that total. And this water's cold, man. I mean, I'm telling you, the night before was 40 degrees, low 40s. So that water's freezing cold, and this chick's out here in a paddle boat or a paddle board.
Paddleboard.
Not standing or she's just sitting on it and just paddling. It was funny.
And so we go back to camp, like you said, and we went back to this valley where we had seen turkeys before, and like the coup de grace of all turkey sign possible.
Right.
So we sat that and just did some, light hen calling. I kind of remember it being a little windy there too, though.
It was a little bit windy, yeah. But that area to kind of draw it up for you, like you said, it's like a drainage that comes off the mountain, goes down into like a wash or somewhat of a canyon, a start of a canyon. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of right near the base, or not the base, the top of this, but there's a bowl that it ends up opening up into a bowl.
Yep.
And then kind of has a big saddle, or not saddle, but I would say a big saddle or a spine
Kind of.
ridge.
So it's like
it flattens up,
like a crescent moon shaped bowl, and we were sitting just below the base of it, thinking they would walk up that drainage to basically, flutter up and not fledge, roost for the evening. What's the word I'm looking for? Roost for the evening, and that we would be catching them on their way to roost, basically, just because of the sheer amount of sign that was everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. I have no doubt that does happen right there, 100%.
Right, and like you said, this is that same area. If you listen to the podcast before this, where the year prior we were in there for OTC, and then we ended up cruising down an area, and Steven was taking 10 years to get out of the truck because we saw a turkey that jumped up onto the log. But so that's kind of what led us to this whole area. But
yeah.
So definitely a lot of sign, and so we're just trying to play it out. I mean, it's the first day, so yeah.
And so we basically get skunked. We walk back to the truck. I think we went back to camp, had dinner, kind of rested a little bit, and I think we went out and shot gobbled that night.
We did. We tried to, yeah.
And I don't really remember anything.
But I think it rained again that night.
Yeah.
So that was still another issue.
It was sprinkling, I remember, when we were calling.
But yeah, we ran roads for a few miles, just trying to see, and went back in further into these areas, even where we thought that roost was, and nothing.
Yeah.
So, but it was day one. Our heads were up high, we were.
Oh yeah, dude, we were on cloud nine.
We had all the action, so we're like, dude, another day.
And we didn't see another person.
Yeah.
Anywhere, not even camps, really. I mean, we saw some like campers, but you can kind of almost tell the difference between like a hunter's camp and a recreational camp. Yeah, and there's recreational camps, half a dozen or so, but we never saw a single hunter at all.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, dude, like we've got this whole place to ourselves, sweet. And in all reality, we really did. The entire trip, we never really saw any hunters.
Yeah, really.
That I recall.
No.
So.
No.
Anyways.
Maybe they knew a better spot than we did. But I don't know.
So next morning we get up and we are in 120% complete opposite of what day one was like.
120%.
120%.
Complete opposite.
60% of the time, all the time.
Isn't that like a complete 180?
Yeah, whatever.
Is that what you're going for?
I'm just saying it was bad. All right, it was bad.
Oh man. So that game plan, what was our idea going into that day?
I think we kind of had the same idea. Oh, that's right. We had went to the bottom of that creek, remember?
Right.
And we were going in at like dark.
So we were gonna try and be at the base because we figured they were gonna drop down
and come right to us.
Yeah.
And we pulled in, and there's a freaking recreational camp set up at the bottom of this basin.
And I'm lighting them up with my LEDs. Steven's like, "There's camp right there." I'm like, "No, it's not." So I go in there and turn around the corner, and boom, just lighting them up. It was like 3:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh. It's just one of those
dang it.
like hang your head moments where you're like, really?
Yep.
But I think we say this in our video too, like it's public land. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, they have the right to camp there as much as we have the right to hunt.
Exactly. And even if there are other hunters, they got the right to hunt there too.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's all part of Western hunting is not in just this situation, but in other situations too, is just change and adapt. How fast can you change and adapt? And that's what's going to amplify your ability to be successful.
Well, that's the other key of being able to change and adapt. But to do that is to be able to scout and know all these different options of where you can go.
Exactly.
So scouting is, I mean, is as much time in the field as you can, man.
Yep. So what did we do?
So
we ended up going further south in the unit. We got a tip from a buddy of mine.
Right.
Shout out to Howard Frampton, who first off lent me his 12 gauge turkey gun, dedicated turkey gun with the choke and all that. 567 TSS.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah, it was 567 TSS. Yeah. And anyways, hooked me up. Great guy. He tipped me off to a spot, so we go further south in the unit. And again, same thing pretty much. You think you heard one gobble kind of way far away. You weren't quite sure where it was though. And it was just kind of when the, not depression, but like disappointment started to sink in a little bit.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can definitely see. Once again, I think we'll probably end up putting a link with this video to check it out, or if you're listening to it, just go check it out. But yeah, you'll definitely see in the video. You know, heads are high the first day, and next day it's complete 180, and that's just what happens.
Yep.
That's hunting, man, and that's different. No matter what kind of hunting too. If you're whitetail hunting, and first day you might have a whole bunch of animals coming into your blind or whatever, and the next day complete zero, you're sitting there on your phone twiddling your thumbs, whatever. But it can change like that.
Yep, 100%. And so we went back to camp, I think around 10, 11-ish probably, and we took a nap, and we ate.
We did.
We got some pretty good rest, and woke up and ate, and decided to go off of my buddy Howard's recommendation, do a midday sit on some water. And he said, go sit water midday. We had one decoy with us that was a hen that I have.
Yep.
And he said, go do some light hen calling every 15 to 20 minutes. And so we said, okay. And so cue the spot here where we were talking about the hilarious footage
of heading into this spot, cruising down a dirt road, just blaring music.
What were we listening to? America by Earl Dibbles Jr. Yeah. We were like, I got a 12 gauge Remington on my lap or something.
On my gun rack.
Yeah, on my gun rack, America.
Something like that. And, you got shades on, jamming out. It was such an epic.
Just those goofy moments that I'm sure a lot of us, all have together, and just acting a fool while we're out there. And little did we know what was about to transpire in like
40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah, I remember taking the video of that, and then I remember looking at my phone.
You look at the time of the video.
Of the time of the video, and the time of actually coming up to the next thing here, but
yeah.
Yeah, it was just hilarious.
So
in hindsight, it's just funny.
We come up to this water hole, which actually is I would say a generational water hole for you, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough off of your pops and you to share this spot.
To know some secrets here.
Yep. So we kind of sit this hidden water hole of ours that we know about, and I think your dad's killed a bear off that.
No. He's killed elk off of it.
Okay.
And
turkey.
He's known. Yeah, it wasn't a turkey off of it, but around that area. Yeah.
Right.
And actually, so we sat above it.
Okay.
And because it kind of has another shelf above that.
Right.
And that's where he sat. And then it wasn't him that shot it. My grandpa did. And then on our way back out,
Oh, that's right.
that's when we saw turkeys crossing the road. And so he got out, chased them up on the hill again, and boom, got him. Tagged out opening day. But yeah, that was cool. So we know historically that there's turkeys in this area.
This one specific area.
And it's funny because Pops, he was like, he's like, well, just go sit that area. There's turkeys there. You know there's turkeys there. He's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, you always want to just do things yourself or
Sure.
find it your own way. But then in reality, when it comes to it, it's like, huh? We listened to you and got it,
Yep.
got it done. You know?
So we walk up to this hole, and it's kind of the way that the berm of the water hole forms a little shelf off the side of this mountain face.
And dams itself.
Exactly, yeah, like a natural dam. And so I set this hen kind of right on that dam. So it's like, if you're above it, you'll see it. If you're below it, you'll see the top half of the hen.
Right.
And I set it, actually I had a broken arrow that I slammed in the ground, and I stuck there's a hole in the back of the turkey, and stuck the nock right through that. And it was fairly breezy that day, which helped because it was swaying. It gave it motion and life, which I think played a big key in things. And so we threw together a very quick makeshift. And what's funny is we had no previous plans really to sit in this. And so we're like, we should put a blind together. So we pull up this fallen tree real quick and throw a couple
of different
things on it to give us
whatever.
We had half cover, maybe, kind of legs were covered sitting. For me anyways. And
I was
so
behind you, partially behind a tree behind you. So
yeah. And so I set my gun, the butt of the gun in my lap, and then I put the front of the gun on the log, so it was already kind of somewhat in firing position if needed to be. And I've always, this is my first turkey hunt, first shotgun turkey hunt ever. We had done some kind of impromptu turkey hunting before this, but this was my first hardcore go at it. And I had no idea how good turkey vision was. I knew it was very, very good, but I wasn't sure if you flinch or even the micro movement, are they gonna scatter and be out of there?
Right.
So I wanted to be in the firing position and ready to go. Kind of had that up there in the top of my mind. And we were sitting there, and I think you said you were starting to almost nod off a little bit.
I was nodding out. I was falling asleep. You gotta think about this. This is probably 12:20, 12:10, something like that,
In the afternoon, yeah.
Midday.
Yep.
And we're waking up at 3, to be out there first thing in the morning to try and beat these turkeys that didn't show up.
Yep.
And so I'm already tired, and so I've got my camera set up on the hole. All I gotta do is just press record. So I'm just sitting there and leaning up against a tree and just dozing in and out, and thinking, all right, I'm just gonna wait till he says we're ready to leave. All right, I'm just gonna wait this little bit, because we were actually planning on meeting up with a buddy, JP, that actually had another tag.
Yep.
And so we were actually planning on going to meet up with him, and then we decided halfway, we're like, well, let's just go sit this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking, well, we're just gonna sit this maybe for a couple hours, and then we'll just go see what's up to JP, and maybe we'll go hunt with him or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got this camera all set up, so all I gotta do is, if something happens, boom, press the button. And luckily I did.
Good thing you did. So we're sitting there, and it's funny because, in hindsight, we have two different stories and two different timelines going on. You have yours and I have mine.
Right.
And I was wide awake, fortunately, and just staring basically straight ahead. And all of a sudden I see this turkey walk out. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Your heart does that first little skip, that little flutter, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah,
hey.
when you get that animal that you've been hunting for, it's funny. Oh.
You know what's funny is it's we're out there hunting.
Right.
But then you see something and you're like, oh snap, there's really something there. And you're like, well, yeah, stupid, you're out here hunting. I don't know why it always catches you like that, but it's funny how that works. But so this turkey walks out.
Well, because it's fooled you
True.
It's fooled you all the time, because you're out there
Yep.
hunting and you don't see nothing, or you don't get in close enough to anything or whatever. So you're like, there's nothing here, you know?
Yeah.
So it fools you into thinking that, and then, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So this turkey walks out, and he's coming closer. I should also say that right before this, I had done some light hen calling.
yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes, if that, before this. I mean, it was pretty quick. I had done, that was when we first got there, we set up and I sat down and we were all like in the ready go position. I did some.
Right.
And I looked down at my phone. I had my phone right between my legs so I could look at the clock, and every 20 minutes I was hitting another round. Well, this was only the second round that I had ever hit.
Oh, really?
And
Dude, I don't remember.
yeah, you were nodding off. So this was only the second round that I had hit, and it was probably like 3 to 5 minutes between the time of my second call
Okay.
that he came in. And so it walks up. I didn't know it was a tom yet. So this turkey walks out, is walking up,
I didn't know that too, yeah.
walking up, and I'm like, all right, because it wasn't strut. It was just, and it was dead silent. It never gobbled.
Yeah.
It came in completely in stealth mode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this turkey's coming. You could see him making his way up. And then finally he turned, and I was like, whoa, beard, beard. And it wasn't like, oh, that's a Jake. It was like, beard. And then all of a sudden I feel you. I think you tapped my shoulder.
Yeah,
You're like,
nudged you.
hey, there's a turkey. And I was like, I know. I was like, I'm about to smoke him.
At that time, I finally wake up, you know? I finally wake up and like, oh shoot, all right, I'm gonna start pressing record, you know? And then I'm thinking like, there's no way, man, there's a turkey coming right now, what the heck?
Yep.
I was like, wow, what are the odds of this? I finally wake up and there's a turkey. So it was just kind of like one of those times where you're like, what? This is surreal. Like, anyways, so I hit the record button, tap you on the shoulder. I was like, there's a turkey. He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And I'm like, it's a shooter. Yeah, I know. And then I'm like, shoot him. Like, shoot him, dude.
Like, don't worry, man.
Shoot him.
You gonna die. You gonna die.
I'm over here like waiting. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
You know?
And
But-
I ranged him, and I think, dude, he was like 30 or
Yeah,
31.
something
It was
close to
on the
that,
dot
yeah.
almost. And I didn't ask if you were recording or anything. I think that's part of the reason of why it's like so shocking almost too, is because like we're trying so hard to get this on film,
Right.
and it's like, yes, like not only are we about to shoot something and be successful in our hunt, but
But you
we're gonna
got it
capture
filmed,
it on
yeah.
film too and do a good job of it. And so
Don't worry, bro. I got you.
yeah. And so this turkey's coming in closer and closer, and I saw him start to turn sideways, and he was
Right.
going towards the brush, and I was like, crap. I was like, now's the moment. Like, he's either going to disappear
Was he in front of a log or behind?
behind it a little
He
bit.
was behind
He was
it?
starting to go further behind it, and that's when I was like, uh-oh.
Okay.
And yeah, so he turned. I think he took about 2 steps, and then he stuck his head out a little bit, and that's when I just was like, all right. So I slowly raised my shotgun, and once I realized at that point, like, you can get away with a little more movement than you think you can. And in the back of my mind, I had this idea that, like, dude, they've got 10x human vision. He's gonna spot me like 3 miles over there, and like I'm screwed. And it wasn't like that at all. I raised my shotgun, got a nice bead right on his head, and pulled the trigger, man. And dude, he dropped like a sack of taters.
You didn't go 20.
He didn't. Yeah, if you guys watch the video, oh man, I was so pumped. You'll hear a huge like breath that adrenaline just hit me, man. It's funny. It's this tiny little bird, and like we've killed elk, we've killed deer. And this little, I was still heart pounding, man, on this little turkey, and didn't go 20. And then it registered. I remember people saying, like, if you shoot a turkey, run to it like right away and get over there, so it doesn't. Even though I had like, if you watch the video, like I had clearly smoked this thing.
I don't know about that. I would just be like, let him. Well, and I told you that. I was like, dude, just let him.
Well, let's talk about that too. Yeah.
But
So I hauled Bud over there.
yeah, you run over there, and I got you on film, and you turn back, and you're like,
I'm
what
like,
are you doing,
come on. And yeah, I went and I was like, all right, this thing's not running away.
Right.
But he was still flopping, like doing the flop
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure,
doing the turkey flop,
twitching,
bro, yeah.
and you know all that. And I had domed him, definitely domed him. And
Turkeys always have like nerves.
tell from your perspective, kind of what you saw take place.
Dude, what? I was cracking up because
Jake was. I could hear Jake in the background, literally sounding like that right there, laughing.
well, because already dome rocked this turkey, which is gonna die. But it's just Steven, and no one, like, when he gets an animal down, he wants it down as quick as possible, right? Well, turkeys just have those nerves where they just keep flopping. I mean, it's like the same. I'm like running around like a turkey with the head cut off. Yeah. They just keep moving. They'll just keep moving. So it's just their instinct or nerves. But he's over here. This turkey's flopping up and down. He's over here trying to grab this turkey. This turkey's kicking him and getting cut up, and I could just see it. He was getting pissed.
Dude, he hit me right in the, and that's when I realized, like, hey, stupid, like, back up and let this turkey die, because he hit me right in the face with his feet, and I was like, whoa. And you could see the scratch mark go right over my eye, like above my brow and then below on my cheek, and I was like, dude, that was close, man. Like,
kicked really pretty good with his spurs on this turkey, and then
I got pissed.
You got pissed, and then you decided, like, I'm gonna get a freaking boulder and crush this thing. And I was like, whoa! I was like, wait.
You're like, dude, your skull, bro. Your skull, like, whoa.
Like, wait, you're gonna crush the skull, man? And you're like, oh yeah. And then he just waited it out. He died like right after that. But I was just like, jeez, dude. Oh man, it was funny.
It made for good comedic value. Good comedic value later on, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I was dying, man.
Someday there will be a couple old men sitting around telling their grandkids, "Hey, your grandfather's an idiot and tried to grab this turkey one time, got kicked in the face for it."
Yeah, that was like that one. That one tale I think Pops told you once too, but where his buddy back in the day thought somehow he was going to be able to snap this deer's neck. He went, shot this deer, paralyzed it, and he was going to try and put it out of its misery. He thought he was Rambo or something. He was going to try. He got on the back of this deer, and he's over here trying to wrestle the deer's head and neck to try and snap the neck. Like he's.
Wasn't he trying to choke it too at one point?
Yeah, then he said he tried putting his fingers into the throat and choking this deer. I was like, what?
He said this is back in like the 70s or 80s.
It's like the 80s or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. We were dying laughing.
So then Pop says he comes up over the ridge and says, what the heck are you doing, dude? You know? He grabs a knife, slits his throat, and he dies right out. But it's like the same thing as this thing where he's over here trying to put this turkey out in his misery.
The turkey's pretty much already out.
Yeah, he is, but
just doing his death flop.
Oh, it was just funny.
And yeah, that was pretty much the story. There's some a ton of cool footage beyond that you guys got to watch of Harvest and our friend JP's in there.
We got a really cool video. I thought it was really cool of that I didn't even know I captured it, but video footage of you talking with the family and stuff on the phone.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
FaceTiming the wife and the kids and all that and stuff, and they were the first call, and yep. So that was really cool. Good hunt, man. And you know, again, shout out to Howard. He did all the fan and the wings, and I had a very specific mount in mind that I wanted for this turkey, and dude, he made it like complete.
Looked really good.
I don't want to say absolute, because I suppose there's always going to be that one person that does it, but to my knowledge, you cannot boil turkey skulls. They will fall apart. You have to get them beetled because they're so small and fragile, and they have these teeny little bones and stuff. So I had a buddy of mine beetle them. Howard did all the drying and the pinning and stuff for the wings and the tail fan and all that. If you go to the Instagram feed, you can see the mount. But and then he took the shotgun shell that was spent and then put the beard inside it, and the beard actually came out to 10.5 inches. I take his word for it. He said if you had shot this with a bow, it'd be in a record book for sure, like top 5 turkeys probably in the state. I didn't know. I mean, dude, I don't know turkeys. Like,
well, and the other thing is he came in not strutting. He looked, you know, just didn't have no signs of it. Looking like a huge turkey.
Yeah, and he was big, man. You know, so. He was really big. I remember picking him up, and I was like, dang, like, these things are huge.
I'm laughing like, really? Come on, dude. You're like, man, this has got some weight. I'm like, oh, gosh.
He girthy.
Yeah, you said something like that.
He girthy. But, yeah, and so delicious. Like, the quality of the meat's phenomenal. So that was our turkey hunt. Check out the video. It's over on YouTube. Just type in BowhuntingAZ, and it should be the first video that's up there right now that I'm aware of. After that, we had a father-son hunt planned in Texas. So Jake and I, Jake's dad is a very tenured hunter. I mean, you're the reason why you hunt because of him, pretty much, that I know of, right? And your grandpa.
Well, it's just the growing up tradition.
You
of
grew
it,
up in the outdoors. I didn't. So we decided to do this cool trip where we went to Texas and hunted at the Lazy CK Ranch. They have a area 39 cabins. It's 3 cabins, sleeps about 10 people, and then there's a 4th cabin that's like a main area basically that is a kitchen and TV and dining area and stuff. And we finally got Jake's dad to break away from the business because Jake's dad's very dedicated to his work. He's self-employed. He's had a mechanic shop for 40 years, and it's tough to break someone like that away from their basically another child.
It's his 3rd child.
Yeah, exactly. And so we finally got Pops to agree to it.
You joke and say it's his favorite one.
And so we got him to break away from it. And my dad was, at the time, was 62. Now he's 63. And he's never been opposed to hunting. He just has never done it. His dad was not a hunter. But, you know, my dad took me shooting and hiking and loves the outdoors. And he's very health oriented and loves the idea of getting his own meat. And so my dad was like, yeah, I'll go with you guys. And your Pop said, yeah, you know, I'd love to hunt again and get back into it. And so we got Pop's your spare bow, which was the Hoyt RX4, right? So got Pop shooting, kind of getting ready. My dad decided to do rifle, so he went and bought one of those, you know, weekend sales
over at Sportsman
package. I think he bought a Remington.
No, it was a Ruger.
Ruger 308.
American. I don't know if it was the
Predator, isn't it?
Predator or something, whatever. One of those varmint Predator, whatever they were.
308, and it got a Vortex on it, and
comes with a muzzle brake and everything. Yeah, cool.
There's a buddy of ours that went to our my old church, but my dad's church still, who is actually a hardcore reloader and ballistics guy that did like 25 years of safaris.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, he knows. You want to meet one of those guys that just knows everything about every caliber, powder load, all that crazy. Dude, this is the dude. Like, and so my dad went out with him, got sighted in, and did all that stuff and everything. And we went to Texas. We went for 5 days. 2 days of travel on each end, the beginning and tail, and then 3 days of straight hunting. And I remember we got there that night. We even did an evening sit, remember?
Right. Well, you did. I showed up at, like, it was nighttime when we showed up.
Oh, that's right. You weren't there.
When we showed up, you guys just got done sitting.
That's right. Yeah. I remember sitting there in the blind, and we're like, oh, we'll just do an evening sit. And I remember sitting there, and it's just, you're in the blind, and it's just dead quiet.
Well, and then the other thing to that was your guys' hunt that evening, or that sit, opening day wasn't until the next day. So you guys were trying to go after other
We couldn't hunt whitetail. We were just sitting for, I don't know, kind of whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear, and Dad's not sitting in the blind next to me, but it's like there's a couple, you know, A, B, and C location for blinds, and he was sitting location B, and I was sitting location A. And Dad got a shot off on a really big hog, but there was no confirmation, no finding it or anything like that. And so I was talking to the guy later, and he's like, oh yeah, dude, like old man was shaking and he got that adrenaline dump. He's like, oh yeah, you know, and it was Adam. So Adam's very, when he gets into telling a story, dude, he gets into telling it like, oh yeah.
Emphatic about it. Yeah.
Emphatic, yep. So Jake shows up later that night. Him and his pops had to close the business out and take care of things. And
yeah, I think I ran over like 3 or 4 raccoons coming down that stretch of road, dude.
It's Texas hill country, and it is just like you're coming out of the gills with wildlife. Like,
oh, dude.
Possums, raccoons, yotes, like
name it, dude.
armadillos
if you're in the late summer or whatever.
And plus
summer.
Deer and exotics and all this crazy stuff.
That was the other thing too, dude. I was like coming down the road. This highway says it's going 75 miles an hour.
No.
On this 2-lane highway.
Not in Texas, bro.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing like 90.
Well, I was going like 50, dude, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to hit a freaking deer right now. Because there's so many deer on the side of the road. It's this 2-lane little highway.
Yep.
And there's like all these little rollers and little zigzag, and
Well-
it's like 75 miles an hour speed limit. I'm like, there's no way people are doing this.
And what
like
cracks me
that.
up too is like we have our regular trucks, right? And we just drive our stock trucks. I've noticed every truck in Texas has those
Has that
giant
big-
metal racks on the front,
Yeah,
and
oh,
for
yeah.
a good purpose too.
Dude, yeah.
As I found out. So
I don't blame it, man, because I kept seeing deers on the side of the road, like dead deer, and I was like,
Yep.
I'm going like 50, man, all right, because I'm not gonna crash this truck right now.
So you guys rolled in that night, and the first rule about when you hunt this ranch is they want to check proficiency with all weapons. So you shoot your bows and stuff, and confirm you're dialed in, ready to go, and all that. And so we did that night, and kind of had a few beers and went to bed, and
Yeah.
we got ready for next morning. We woke up, and I think we had 5:30 rollout, 5:30, 6 o'clock
I
rollout.
think it's 6, something like that, but yeah, somewhere around
Okay.
there, yeah.
And so we rolled out, and we kind of decided to sit blinds first. What's cool about the ranch is, it's 11,000 acres. It's a huge ranch. And you can kind of choose your style of hunting. If you want to sit blinds, they kind of know, corridors and where you can sit and stuff. And,
Depending on the wind situation, where,
Yep.
and all that, so
yep.
yeah, they've
And
got
then
options.
You can spot and stalk too. You just tell your guide, hey, I want to spot and stalk only, and that's all I want to do. And they're like, all right, let's do it. And then it's pretty cool. And so we all decided to kind of knock the dust off, try and get a harvest under your belt first,
Right.
and just sit blinds. And so we did that morning, and I'll kind of we'll do this. I'll have Jake tell him and his pops, and then I'll tell mine and my dad's. And so we got dad's set up in the rifle blind. All the rifle blinds are about 100-ish yards, a little more sometimes.
Probably about that, yeah.
Yeah, and so about 100 yards. And this is Texas hunting, and people can knock it all they want. I really don't care, but you hunt over corn and feeders. Like, that's just how it is. You think Indians didn't hunt over bait? You're insane. So you hunt over corn and a feeder, and it's about 100, 120 yards, and they go off once in the morning and once in the evening, and that's it. And so feeder goes off, and I remember nothing but bucks came in. We're like, wait a minute, and Dad didn't want to shoot any bucks. The package, you can kind of build your own package or whatever, and Dad wanted just 3 does. Okay. It's kind of different than Arizona. You can hunt does here and stuff, and so it's like, all right, we're just meat hunting for pops,
Right?
And, or for my dad, and
to try and get your dad's first big game.
Exactly. My dad's 62 years old, never
Right.
shot anything except for blackbirds out of a cherry tree that his dad used to pay him $1 a bird for. And so I'm like, all right. I told him, I said, it's way different than shooting a bird. Like, it's just so different. He's like, all right. And so, he had his first shot off at an animal the night before, but we got the whole thing on film of him shooting it.
Right.
And this doe comes, and man, a single doe, and she just lingered for the longest time. She walked way far right.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then-
kind of just stayed out.
Yeah, so like as you're looking at the feeder, she walked way far right, and we thought she was gonna leave, and then she came back, and then she went way far left, and she was definitely perimetering it, And we had like 8 or 9 bucks under. We're like, well, okay.
This is what I'm going for.
Yeah, and so then this doe comes, and finally she's kind of slightly quartered to, but still a little bit broadside, and we were trying to figure out how to describe to Dad the best
Where
way
to
to
place
shoot
it,
and at first he was like, the guide was like, well, aim a little high back at the base, about 6 inches back at the base of the neck, and he's like, and then she moved a little bit and adjusted, and he's like, no, he's like, you know what? I think you realize, like, dude, he's shooting a 308 at 100 yards. He's like, put it right on her shoulder, like right on her
That's
shoulder.
what I was kind of thinking. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And so Dad's like, okay, puts it right on her shoulder and just boom, just drops her. Literally, like my turkey, dude, sack of potatoes, dead. And
Right.
I was like, I remember looking over at Dad, and I see his hands just, I was like, yes, like, just, that was cool, man. Like, seeing your dad kill his first animal, which is really weird. It seems backwards, right?
Right.
Like, Dad should be seeing you kill your first animal and all that. And, man, what a cool moment. And we, walked up, and, he got to kind of see it out for his first time and stuff. And yeah, we decided to do a little bit more bow hunting. So I decided to break out my bow. I had it with me and smoked a doe like, 15, 20 minutes right after that. And, it's a very target-rich environment. There's so many whitetail there. It's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
the guides see it every day. They're like, they think of them almost as if they're like rats. They're just, they're
There's just so much of them,
everywhere, everywhere. And so that kind of prompted it off for us, I mean, we were out of the gates.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then we ended up meeting up with you guys, and but
I can't remember. Did you guys get anything that morning?
yeah, I ended up getting one. So yeah, to start off our morning for me and Pops, we get into this blind before it's sun up. It's like you said, probably 6:10, something like that, 6:30, and so we're sitting in this blind, and I mean, as soon as we show up, there's animals already right in front of this blind, so we sneak into here, but the sun's still like barely up, and you can see the animal, especially with binoculars. Binoculars will actually bring in sunlight, so you can see them even better. But dude, probably 6 bucks in front of us in this blind, no more than 20-30 yards in front of us. And I just remember Pop's like, holy cow, this thing, dude, look at the size of this deer, look at the size of this buck. It's like this 10-point, there's a big huge 8-point, there's a couple different like 9, 10s. I mean, it's like all these big huge shooter bucks, big bucks.
Yep.
And we're like, none of them are really management bucks, or because that's what Pops wanted to do for this trip, was get a couple does and then a management buck, and that's what his goal was.
And a management buck is 7 points or less.
Yes.
It's got to be a not a genetic freak, but they want to basically weed out the genetic anomalies of weird points and stuff like that. They want symmetry and stuff. So
yeah. So if it's got like a missing brow tine or something,
Yeah, and that's what's weird too, because you're going from, we're used to like, no, it's a 4x4. Well, they would call a 4x4 here a 10-point because they count the brow tines.
Right.
And so it's weird for us. We're like, oh yeah, there's a 7-point, and they're like, yeah, no, dude, that's like a 9-point. And then we're like, oh, all right. Like,
yeah, that was like so weird for us to get accustomed to at first, but yeah. So, anyways, we're sitting in this blind, and it's probably turns out to be about 8 o'clock, and no does came in at all. It was all just stud bucks. So we're like, well, you know what, let's just screw this, let's go sit in another blind real quick. And because the morning was still early, so we're like, yeah, we get out of the blind, and these bucks are just standing there. I mean, these are big shooter bucks, 9, 10-point bucks. And we just walk out of this blind, and they're just looking at us like, and then they scurry off, and then they kind of round back around, like, oh, you ain't gonna shoot me, okay. So we ended up almost like just kicking them off, whatever. But we go to a different blind, and then probably maybe 15 minutes later, finally a doe comes in. And it was kind of I don't know, maybe a younger doe or whatever, but we were just kind of like, well, we already got a doe here, she's obviously hanging out, let's just see what else comes in, because there was word around that saying that there was a management buck that was coming into that blind.
Was that Citadel?
No, this was black buck, I think.
Okay.
So
all the blinds have different names, and so later on, once you've been there, you can kind of compare, like, oh yeah, was that Citadel? No, black buck. No, Paradise has better in this and that. So yeah,
that was the funny part. The first time I went there, Chris, the guy that I had, he was like, dude, you've only been here like 3 days, and you know this ranch more than some of the guys do. I'm always wanting to know everything and be aware of everything. You do. You ask a lot of questions, and you store that away very well. Very well. But yeah, so anyways, Chris is like, dude, you know this ranch more than some of the guys here, But anyways, so we go and sit this blind, and nothing ended up coming in, and we're like, Pops was like, well, dude, we gotta shoot something, man. And he's like, we got so many tags we're gonna try and fill out here. Let's start getting some meat on the ground here. And I was like, all right, well, I'll lay one down, And so I just end up letting one loose and almost dang near Texas heart shot of this freaking doe, but didn't go like 15, probably 25 yards, and just sack of taters down there. But so anyways, we ended up going back to camp, and that's when we ended up meeting up with you. You guys ended up getting, Larry got his first deer, so that was cool.
That's a cool point in the film too.
Yeah, it all ties together
Because it follows each pair of us, the father-son. There's a film out about this. It's not on the BowhuntingAZ stuff. It's on the Lazy CK Ranch. They did the film and everything and stuff, and it's called Something Old, Something New.
Yep.
And it's in speaking to the terms of, you know, an older hunter that's a new hunter, and an older hunter that's getting back into hunting, which was your pops.
Yeah.
And the bond shared between the father-son trip of the four of us and all that. So
yeah,
make sure to go over to Lazy CK Ranch on YouTube and check out Something Old, Something New. And you can see the entire film. And it's a pretty good film.
Yeah, it's just a blast, man. I mean, it's something that, I mean, just spending time with your dad and
right,
being able to do things like that with your dad, you know. I mean, growing up, I was able to go hunting with my dad. You weren't really, you didn't ever do that, but growing up, we always did rifle, because with 2 kids, it's like, how are you going to bring 2 kids to go archery hunting?
Yeah.
And so that was really cool for me, is to be able to go archery hunting with Pops, because I've heard all these stories, you know, and even Lori, kind of like another mother to me, and like a mother-in-law, but she was like, well, I've heard all these stories about you being a hunter, you know. I was like, well, how come I don't see nothing or whatever, you know. So we kind of giving him crap.
And he doesn't, though. That's what's weird, is before this, I never saw any mounts in his house.
He's got them in the garage, yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's got some in the garage.
Well, I had never seen any beforehand, but okay. Yeah. And so that was day 1.
Right.
And we were I don't think we got anything really that evening.
To be honest, I don't remember now.
Yeah, I don't think we got anything else really. Day 2, I think, was when things really started to kick off.
Yeah.
Because we decided to be a little more mobile and
just start laying the hammer.
Just start getting around, and it was like nothing was safe after that.
Stacking and whacking, man. I
mean,
the guide we had, poor dude, he just kept just bringing them back in the shed, skinning them, bringing them back in the shed.
Yep. Yeah. So I smoked one that evening, remember, and it piled up like right there, and then
well, all that, man. I mean, that's the one where
Pops
ended up
Pops
getting
smoked one that afternoon. Tell that story.
Go ready. Oh, no, that was the afternoon. But the morning of that day,
I'm talking about the management.
Oh, that was that was day 2, huh?
Yeah, it was day 2. Yep.
Well, day 1 of that, or no, the morning of day 2, he ended up finally shooting his doe.
That's right.
And just drilled that doe. And then so we ended up stashing it and going and sitting back in the blind again to try and get another one to wait for you guys to show up.
Yep.
But yeah, after he shot that first doe, he was like all excited. I could see him in the same aspect of like how your dad was, just like he's back in the game, you know.
And going into this, like you and I, that was our like, dude, we've killed it. We recently,
right?
You know, and what's funny is like we're sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, we've killed animals, but like in reality, like Pops has killed way more than us. But like we didn't care. Like we wanted Pops to get back into it so bad, and so we're like, dude, we don't care if we kill anything. Like we wanted your dad and my dad to get all the harvests and do that.
Yeah, that was like some of the best parts of it was just seeing the reaction and the biggest smiles on his face, you know.
Yep.
And
because you're seeing 60-something-year-old guys feel like 20-year-olds again.
That he hasn't hunted in 20 years.
Yeah,
dude.
19, 20 years. Yeah. That's crazy.
So it's like for him to get back into it and still have the passion for it, and you know, and all that.
Look like a kid again.
Yeah, man.
So he smoked that doe, and then you guys, I think, went back out for an evening.
So we went back to that same blind.
That was Citadel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And which is really cool because there's all these beddings that are kind of outside of it because it's just thick brush, and then there's a water hole there, and then they got feeders and everything pond, there too. Yeah, so it's like perfect setup. And
it's an elevated blind that's encompassed by like trees.
Yes.
And it's cool because the center of the blind, there's like a big metal stake in the center, dead center of the blind. And there's 2 chairs that rotate swivel around, and swing. So it's like you can kind of position yourselves however you
kind
want.
of need to, in any 360 of that blind, you know.
Yep.
So it was really cool. But yeah, so that evening, we're sitting there, and this couple bucks. There's a big 8-point that comes in there, nice, good, thick 8-point. We ended up seeing them later. I was showing you that one, but and then there was a big 7-point that almost looked like the 8-point, but he just was missing a brow tine. It was just a solid beam instead of having the brow tine. So they were like, "Oh, dude, that's a shooter. That's a shooter. Like, let's get ready." And so, just Pops was like, he just wasn't ready for it. Which I don't blame him. I don't want him to take the shot, you know. And so we kind of like literally bickered at each other. He's like, "Will you take the shot?" I was like, "Well, no. If he comes in closer, I'll let you take the shot." You're like, "Well," and then he never ended up getting back into the shot. And we were like sitting there, and we're like, "Dang it! Why didn't I just take the shot?" You know? I was like, "Dang it! I should have just took the shot." You know? And so, lo and behold, we actually didn't get we got the buck on day 3, management, and it was in the morning.
Okay.
And so we ended up sitting that morning, and first thing in the morning, that big 7 comes in again, and so what we ended up doing is trying to get a shot on him again, and he just kept staying on the outside. Then another 7-point comes in, another management buck that we didn't see the night before comes in, and he actually still had like dead skin, like dead velvet on his rack and everything. I was like, "Dude, that's another shooter." He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah, he's another shooter. Get ready." He's like, "Okay," and he comes in, dude, like 22 yards right out of the blind, and just drills him. And I could just see like the biggest smile, the grin on his face, and he drilled this buck. I mean, the buck took off, but drilled him, and I was just like, it's complete, you know.
Old man still got it.
It's all complete. Yeah, he did have it, man. I'll give him that. he was shooting pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised. Dang. But yeah, so ended up going out there, tracking the buck down, and got it all on film too. Got him walking up to it and just seeing the biggest smile on his face. That was probably the best part of that trip for me, was just seeing how big of a smile he had on his face.
And he did. That was cool. I was in the video too. He's sitting there and gives like a thumbs up, and he's all happy and gripping the antlers and everything. And that was so cool, man.
That was really cool. And that made it all worth it for me, to be honest, dude. We could have ended that trip right there. And that was worth it. That was it.
Heck yeah.
That's the reason why, you know?
Yep. Exactly. All right. And that was pretty much the end of day 2.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Pops in his going out in his blaze of glory.
He was pretty much done after that.
He was.
He ended up actually, day 3, he ended up just helping Mike skin and cut up the rest of those deer.
Yeah.
Man. There were so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
And then, after that,
it was our time.
We ended up getting to sit blind together.
Yeah, we did. We were sitting a blind. We went and sat the one that you and your Pops were hunting.
Yeah, because we knew there was another management buck in there. And so we're going to try and get that. And then we know if we wanted to go shoot another doe, there's plenty of does there.
Yep.
That were coming in there, so.
Yep. And, boy, we were sitting there, and you and I were just, honestly, man, like, you and I had, like, given up the thought of, like, trying to be quiet or anything. Like, we were cracking jokes. We were laughing. Pretty sure there might have been a beer or so there. And
a beer or so?
we
bought our own six-pack.
We were just having a grand old time sitting there laughing. And all of a sudden, there was a few deer below us, and all of a sudden, everything stood at attention.
There was a tar or something like that came in, too.
Oh, no, a Markhor.
Markhor,
yeah, there's a Markhor. All of a sudden, everything just stood at attention, and everything was looking in one direction, and we're like,
yeah. So it was kind of on my side where they were looking, so I kept like peeking, and like I was almost tempted to like, dude, I don't see nothing. I was tempted to like open the back door up and like look outside, like what the heck are they looking at, dude?
Right.
And then so you're just like staying alert, you know, looking, and then all of a sudden I just see out of the corner of my eye this bobcat just coming right up to the water hole. And I just go over to Steve, like, dude, there's a bobcat right there. Get ready. It's like, just get ready. I had no intention of even shooting. I was just like, all right, Steven, you're gonna shoot this bobcat. Like, get ready, dude. Get ready. You're like, what, bobcat? I was like, yeah, get ready, dude.
You don't gotta tell me twice, man. Like, all right, I'll shoot a bobcat.
Oh, but yeah, go ahead, say it.
So yeah, all of a sudden we see this bobcat come in. I'm like, dude, no way. Like, he kind of came in straight to the water and he wanted a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of looked around, you know, did that check left, check right. And I was like, all right. As soon as this bobcat puts his head down to take that drink, like I'm smoking him.
Right.
And he put his head down to take that drink, and I started drawing, and my broadhead tapped the side of the
I heard
blind.
the noise. Oh, yeah.
And he like jerked up, kind of, sort of, real quick,
Yeah.
and like kind of was like, "What was that?" And then put his head almost immediately, like right back down. And I was like, "No way!" And I was at full draw at that point. And I thought, honestly, when I tapped, I thought for sure like it was done. Like that. Oh, you just blew it. I was like, "Oh,
Right,
well,
it was a bobcat.
Yeah.
And yeah. They're
You know,
gonna be skittish.
Predator's not going to give you a second chance." And dude, he put his head right back down to take that drink. I was like, all right, man. And I had ranged it, I think it was like 18 or 19 yards.
If that, I would think, man, he was there.
So I put my 20 right on him, and you know, I was leaning. Dude, it was a pretty steep angle.
Like I said,
It's an elevated
right below
blind
us too. You know,
yeah,
so.
it's an elevated blind. So I put my 20 right on him and pulled the trigger, or pulled the release, or whatever, and freaking smoked him. Like, it stuck, and it's all muddy around this water hole, so the arrow lodges into the mud.
Oh, it sticks, yeah.
The cat is stuck on the arrow and does this like 4 or 5 foot leap straight up into the air and just pulls off the arrow, goes up into the air, lands on the ground, and then books it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, and we're just, Jake and I are sitting
I
there
don't know
like
why, but we just cracked up.
dying laughing.
Just
We're like, what the heck just happened? Like, what in the world?
And then one of the guides come out with the dog and ended up finding him, but he was like, dude, you know how many times people have always been trying to get a bobcat with a bow and arrow, and you just come out here and get one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he said he was the only other person that's ever shot a bobcat on the ranch.
Oh, really?
He's like, you know how many people try and shoot these,
Yeah.
and like you just don't. It
See
just
them,
doesn't
they don't
happen.
get it,
They're
yeah.
so elusive. And he's like, and you guys shoot one with a bow, let alone just see one. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was kind of cool. I got to take home a little extra euro on
Right.
the trip, and yeah, we ended up tagging out the rest of our does, and that pretty much wrapped up the trip. I
Yeah.
can't think of anything else to really add to that.
Yeah, that was it, buddy. But it was just a blast. It was real fun, man.
We got to build that bond with our dads, and I know Pops is excited to get back out and do more hunting.
He's wanting to go back to the ranch itself.
Is he? I know my dad is too.
Oh, because I think it was day 2, we sat one of the blinds, and these red stag came into the blind.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, that's just what that is. He was like, ever since he saw that, he was like, dude, I want to go shoot one of those.
I would dare say a stag is like an elk, but cooler.
Oh, way cooler.
Way cooler.
Way cooler. the red coat. I mean,
Yep.
the crowns on their horns and everything. He was just like, they just look magical.
A stag is
I was
pretty dope.
They're huge, dude. They
And
get
then
big.
my dad saw like a jet black Psycha and was like, he's
Okay.
like, I want to shoot one of those. Dude. He's like, yeah, those are pretty cool. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see a trip back there someday. That'd be fun. After that, we had our next hunt was fall bear. And we got out for a little bit of fall bear. I mean, man, it was only like a weekend. It really wasn't anything significant. But we went and hunted a spot that we had hunted before.
Actually, fall bear was before that.
Was it?
Yeah, fall bear would have been before that, I would think.
You're
But-
right, because we went to Texas in October.
No, we went to Texas in
October.
Oh, it was October.
It was opening weekend for whitetail in October. So, okay.
So yeah, it was.
We're telling this out of order, but we'll just pretend that.
Well, after Texas, we went to
Yeah. No, but we did some fall bear hunting too. The only thing I really want to speak to this is I had a toad bear come out and stand at 600 yards. And the thing I really learned from this was like, man, you know, I got a 300 Win Mag. he was 600 yards on the dot. And it was like, I know this gun can shoot that,
Right.
but I've never shot 600 yards.
Right.
And ultimately, I feel very grateful that I decided to pass because I had never done that. I didn't have the confidence, and really, I had no business taking that shot.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a lesson that I got to experience and learn, and learn how to kind of process those emotional feelings in the moment and the adrenaline and all that stuff.
Control it, yeah.
I feel really good about having passed on that because
Well, dude, if you've never shot 600 yards with a rifle, that's a poke.
yeah.
And so, like, I don't know, I think of that as like somebody trying to go shoot a freaking deer at 130 yards.
Yep.
With a bow and arrow. It's
Yep.
like, dude, it's just too much of a risk for me.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you're like, dude, 600 yards, whatever. Well, dude, if you practice that, then more power to you, man.
Sure. Yep.
But
Yep. That was pretty much it for our fall bear. Fast forward now to January OTC. You and I had gone to a very traditional spot for us, and you had a really good encounter there.
tried and true.
Tried and true, man. Good old spot. We've pulled what? Four or five deer out of this one area.
Could have been 6.
That's almost comedical of where it's at.
Yeah.
And so you get in on a buck. We spot a buck. I think we're like 3 or 4
Dude,
days
and there
in.
was so many people there too.
There was a
Like
lot.
below us, to the left of us, to the right of us, and we're like,
We kept going, oh crap, there's a truck.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's one below
there
us.
was guys literally like probably, I don't know, maybe 150 yards to the right of us.
Right.
And I think they saw us, but well, they definitely saw us when we started making a move.
Yeah,
But-
whatever it was, if they were there or not, they decided not to make a move on this deer there.
But yeah, I spot this buck. He was just a big 2x2, just a big fork.
A big fork though.
And so I was like, you know what? Well, let's just go do it, man. Let's just go make the play. Might as well. And he was already going over this ridge and starting around the back side of it. So we just said, well, now's the time to do it. Let's just go. So we ended up cruising up that hill. We dropped down, went up the other hill, and slowly rounded this back side of this hill. And just finally, I kind of come up over this ledge, barely come up over this ledge, and I can just see this. And I was like stalking the whole time, rounding this hill. I mean, we're just stalking, rounding it, slowly creeping. And because I was like, he's got to be somewhere right over here, because traditionally that's kind of the play that they always did too.
Yep.
And so as soon as I kind of crest up over this hill, he's just kind of just sunbathing, just laying down sunbathing under this tree, and he was lit up by the sun. And so I saw him, and he was looking like kind of right at me. So I just stood there for a minute, and then he kind of like looked off again, and I kind of backed off and went to you. I was like, dude, he's right on the other side of here. The only way we can do it is drop back down low around the hillside, get above him, cut down, and kind of go parallel with him.
Yep.
And try and see if something can happen. And we're like, well, let's just do it. You know, I was like, why don't you stay over here, keep an eye on him, and I'll kind of go make a play and see what we can do. And so that's what happened. He ended up staying up high, right where I kind of saw the deer at originally, and I ended up rounding that hill, dropping down, getting parallel, and I made a mark on Onyx of where I thought this buck was. And so the whole time I'm kind of like thinking of like, all right, well, he's got to be, you know, this point or whatever. I'm slowly inching my way, right? Mm-hmm. And then at one point, on my Onyx, it says I ended up doing a line distance from where I was to him, and it says I was like 50 yards. So I like keep slowly just inching my way, and I kept stopping, getting down on my knees, looking through all these brush, you know, trying to see if I could see him where he's bedded. I couldn't see nothing. I remember trying to text you, call you, whatever, like, dude, do you see the buck? You're like, yeah, he's still bedded. I was like, okay, do you see me? Nope.
Yeah,
like,
I was
it.
adjacent from you, and I could see him the entire time.
Right, and then, but I could see you. That was the weird part.
That's
I could
so
see
weird.
you,
Huh.
and so I kept, like,
That's that darn SKRE Gear. I just couldn't find you, bro.
I was like literally waving my bow like above me, and I was
Dude,
like, "Do you
never
see me?"
saw
You know,
anything.
and then I like had
That's
my
wild.
phone like with the screen trying to like mirror you, you know, whatever, and just nothing.
Huh.
And so I just, my worry was I was like, I'm gonna end up spooking him, and I'm not gonna find him when we get too close. And so I just said, you know, I literally I would like inch a little bit. I'd sit back down, and I would just keep trying to look in glass, and then I'd stand up, go back, and then finally I was like, you know what, dude, we're here. Like, I'm just gonna get up and try and just move in, man, and see what happens. So literally, I get up, stand up, and there's this big bush in front of me. I go literally walk to the right of it, just around this bush, and as soon as I do this, I round this bush, and this buck just stands right up and just stares right at me, like full frontal staring right at me. And I paused for a second, like, oh shoot, you know, and then I was like, then I realized, like, all right, I'm just gonna start pulling back and try and aim it on him and whatever. But as soon as I start to draw back, this buck just flips around and just takes straight down the hill.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, dude, there's no chance of ranging this buck or anything. At that point, I already knew he was, like, obviously under 40 yards. He was right there in front of me, so I was just going to grab a pin and let it go, but I didn't even have that chance.
Probably could have thrown an arrow at him at that point.
Probably could have, but... so, yeah, he took off, and then I ranged where he was at, and he was 32 yards. And I was probably sub 40 yards from him for like a good 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's hunting, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
crazy, man. But yeah, that was it.
Fast forward a couple weeks, probably maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm hunting a different unit and getting in on deer like crazy, having lots of sightings and stuff. And for whatever reason, I had kind of gotten in my head during this most recent January OTC season that I was more accurate with a thumb release than an index release. I usually use a Wise Guy
Spot hog.
index
Index
spot
release.
hog Wise Guy. And but then for whatever reason, so let me tee it up. I'm on the top of this ridge, and I've got that was the one the super wide 4x4 that's easily like
200
200 plus, yeah. And I'm like, all right, he's 130 yards away, and he's feeding towards me.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there, and out of nowhere, I'm in position. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna play the waiting game, and this massive 3x3 catches me by surprise and walks out right in front of me, broadside, 50 yards, feeding. And I'm like, oh dude, this deer's gonna die. Like, get this. It felt like a gimme. Like, I was like, okay. So I got the bow in my hand, I'm ready to go, and for whatever reason, that little voice in my head says, oh, you're more accurate with the thumb release. And so I reach and grab my wife's release, which is the Carter, what is it? Carter 2 Simple, I think, or something. And I hook it onto my D-loop, and I'm drawing down on this buck 50 yards, about 3/4 of the way through my draw cycle. And that stupid thumb button hits my bino harness and sends my arrow off into oblivion way above the buck. And the buck looks up and was like, and just ran off. And I was like, man.
Were you about ready to check your bow?
Oh, dude. I was ready about to throw my bow off the side of this mountain. Like, I was so pissed. I was like, you idiot. I was like, immediately it was like, why didn't you just use your trigger finger release? Like,
Right.
what got into you? And yeah, hard lesson learned, man. Like, why would you change for something you're accustomed to? Yeah, I don't know. It was a hard lesson learned. Couple other lessons that I walked away with that season was just, again, and I've said it before, and it's still a personal battle that I have, is just patience. Stop trying to make things happen, and it's like you just need to wait more. But I feel like, oh, the deer's gonna get away. Well, so what? Like, sometimes it's gonna get away, and just need to be patient though, and stop trying to force things, because then you just spook it and then it's just gone. So that was January OTC season. Closed out for both of us.
Yeah, both had opportunities, just couldn't get it done.
Yep. Let's see. After that, I had a trip to Texas again. I went with a couple buddies. I decided to host. Sounds weird saying it, but my first ever BowhuntingAZ camp, but it was in Texas. But just a shared bow hunting camp with people that wanted to hunt together.
That are following and
exactly. I've had so many requests of people that want to come hunt with me, and honestly, I would love to hunt with each and every one of you. I would love to share that experience and the camaraderie, but at the same time, in Arizona, it's tough because I don't want to blow up each other's spots either. You know, that's just a real fact. Like I don't want to give away my secret spots that I've worked hard on, and I don't want you to give me your secret spots that I've worked hard on, and I would never compromise anybody's spots, but I just want to be respectful of each other's areas. And so this was the next best option, was just, hey, let's go hunt in Texas together, and we have a target rich environment and we can share notes.
You don't have to worry about that.
Tips and stuff like that. So we did this, and Jake wasn't able to make it for this one, but we had a couple other people that were. We had Nathan and Brandon and Kobe. Kobe's been a long-time follower. Brandon's been a long-time follower, and Nathan's just a good friend I know through church. And so we went with the notion that we were each going to shoot 3 whitetails and come home with some meat and spend a few good days together. And we got out there and plans changed.
Well, when you see a nice big old animal come in front of you,
you
start shooting different things.
Brandon and I are both pretty tenacious. How do I put this? We have big aspirations for like what we want to do in our bow hunting endeavors, and my dream hunt has always been spot and stock archery buffalo. And turns out there's buffalo in these 11,000 acres. And so kind of chit-chatted with the wife a little bit. And she was more leaning towards the idea of like an axis, because she loves axis meat.
Right.
And she was like, whatever, you might as well just shoot a buffalo. It's a lot more meat.
If you're there.
If you're there, it's a lot more meat, and this and that. And I remember looking at my guide Taylor, and was like, we're hunting buffalo.
We got the green light.
We got the green light. So we did. Brandon had shot one the night before. And
that's probably what made you like more eager to be like, well, Brandon just got one, I'm gonna get one.
We pulled up as it was, they were trying to start to load it and stuff, and I was just like, dude, like what?
The sheer size.
Oh my! They had 2. They have this beefed up trucks with the winches and stuff. They had 2 winches pulling this buffalo onto like a trailer. What do you call that?
What?
Like a flatbed trailer that you would carry like a side-by-side on or something?
Oh, just a flatbed trailer.
Yeah, like a 16-footer probably or something. Okay. And I remember the winch's wires were fraying trying to pull this buffalo. And they're like, geez, like, holy crap. And so it was just an awesome moment. And so we decided to try and relocate the herd in the morning, because they had spooked quite a ways. And we found them, and we decided to, so we parked the truck, got out and walked maybe a half a mile or so, and got in on them. And we were kind of following the vegetation of like a creek, because we were fortunate that on our right side on our approach was a thick creek bed. And so we were following the trees along that, and we got to 50 yards, because there's a good bush between us and the herd. But in order to get the shot, I had to fully clear this bush. And when I sidestepped, dude, they pinned me like right away. And they spooked. And it was really? So first stock blown. They ran off, and we kind of saw them in the distance kind of settle down and kind of get back, and a couple of them started feeding, so we're like, I think we got a second play on this.
Yeah.
And so we do. We get back, we kind of pinball from tree to tree to tree. We get 80 yards, and we're like, maybe we're going to get another play. And we get 80 yards, and one of the bulls pins my guide. And the guide was like, all right, he sees me. He's like, from here on out, he's like, you do whatever you need to do to get closer. And I was like, all right. And so I get on my belly, and I put my bow in my hands, or on my forearms, and I belly crawl, like army belly crawl. And I get to 63 yards, and I put a tree right between me and the buffalo. So I'm belly crawling on my belly with my bow in my forearms towards this tree. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, dude, this is like the dumbest thing ever. Like, they're going to see this a mile away. And then I get to this tree, I'm like, holy crap, it worked. I'm like, I can't believe this thing freaking worked. And so then I'm kind of looking at him, and I'm like, all right, where's my shot opportunity? And all of a sudden I see this bull. There was 4 bulls there, and I'm like, all right, which one, is the biggest and will also present the shot opportunity? And so this bull finally, that was one of the 2 I had established were the biggest, finally turns fully broadside, 63 yards. And so yeah, I was like, all right, well, here we go. So drew back, aimed where I needed to, and just sent it. And freaking drilled it, man. Drilled it. And the bull just kind of did a little bit of a circle, kind of, and then just laid down. And then one of the other bulls actually ended up going over to him, kind of nudged him and pushed him a little bit, like, get up, go.
Right.
And he did get up again, but then he, like, sat back down right away, and then he was done. Like, done. And I remember my guide, Taylor, slapping me on the back, and he's like, dude, you just freaking one-shot a buffalo. And, yeah, that was insane. Like, man, you just did a dream hunt at that point.
Right.
It was like, holy crap. And I remember the arrow actually hit the buffalo, went through it, full pass through, and still went another 25 yards and stuck in the ground. And it was like, whoa. That was crazy.
Yeah, what setup were you using?
So normally I shoot VAP TKOs. I shoot the AAE Max and a 4-fletch. I think they're 350 spines. I think
so, yeah.
And I am actually underspined for what I should. I need to
for the poundage.
For the poundage. I need to up my spine a little bit. And I put on an extra 25 grains. I changed out my broadhead. I shot 125 grain broadhead specifically just for the buffalo. So it put me at
fixed blade, right?
Fixed blade, single bevel, 445 grain arrow, 125 grain broadhead, 78 pounds at 298 feet per second on a Matthews V3. And it just, I was really worried. I mean, I don't know. I've never shot a buffalo before. I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And just blew through it. I was like, okay, all right. We got what it takes. So that was really cool, man. I was really pumped.
Yeah, I remember you sent me a photo of it. I was at work, and like the first thing I ended up doing was showing Pops. He was like, what? Is that Steven? I was like, yeah, he just shot that this morning. He's like, oh, I can't wait for the back straps. He's like, I can't wait for the stakes.
That picture was cool, man. Those back straps were freaking huge.
So yeah, that was awesome, man.
We'll make a rug out of the hide, and yeah, all sorts of. The head weighs a stupid amount, but yeah, that's cool. Now it's archery grizzly bear or brown bear is the next up on the to-do list.
I would like to do archery boost.
I mean, I would too. Don't get me wrong.
If anybody wants to help with that,
right?
I would like to do an archery moves.
So yeah, that was that. And then next up, I mean, we haven't done any hunts since then. Next up is my dad drew his very first elk tag, 1 bonus point. drew a late rifle tag. We'll leave the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that was growing up.
In the unit where we,
for us
yep,
was literally growing up. Like I said, we never did archery with pops. It was always rifle. So growing up, we always did the rifle tags, and so like it was literally Thanksgiving. You'd eat your Thanksgiving. It was more like a lunch for us, and then it would end up just taking off Thanksgiving Day, and that was the next hunt. But
yep.
But I don't know. A buddy of ours, Jimmy, also got a tag too, so we might end up holding off on this a little bit here before we get too involved. And
we'll run 100%. Do a podcast with Jimmy, maybe a little bit before, but more so after probably.
Yeah.
And he drew my dad and Jimmy both have the same tag in the unit where we have our bulls both killed.
He's got the archery, your dad's got the rifle, so we'll see both of those. But yeah.
Yep.
So.
So future episodes, stay tuned. I'm going to do one on the upcoming changes for OTC archery deer because we just had a bunch of regulation changes for that. So I'll cover that. I'm going to ask as many questions as possible and find out as much information as possible beforehand. I'm going to also try and get with a guy that owns and runs the howl.org organization, which is fighting for sportsmen, because we've had a lot of anti-hunting sentiment lately. And so I want to kind of talk with that guy and pick his brain and see what we can do to band together as hunters and outdoorsmen and push the idea of conservation through scientific research the right way and not just emotional anti-hunting sentiment. And then I'm going to have a bear episode with Chasing the King, Dylan Curry, probably one of the most prominent bear hunting guides in Arizona that I'm aware of, and pick his brain on bear hunting and just kind of talk about his experience. And I hear he's good people, so I'm excited to have him on. And that'll pretty much be it.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah. Well, heck yeah, buddy. Boom! It's good to have it. It's good to be back. It's good to get another podcast episode under the belt and kind of get back in the swing of things. So stay tuned for more and make sure to check out those videos. What was the name of the turkey one? I can't remember. It's on the BowhuntingAZ YouTube. Just go to BowhuntingAZ YouTube channel and you'll find the turkey hunt.
Spring turkey.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
And then if you check out the Lazy CK Ranch, something old, something new for the father-son hunt that we did.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Check it out.
Cool.
Let us know what you think, buddy.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the BowhuntingAZ podcast.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at BowhuntingAZ.
If you would, please smash those 5 stars for us on iTunes and leave us a little review. It'll really help us out.
Good luck on your next hunt. We'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya.